Hello.
Hi, Caitlin. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love how the story we're going to tell today, it just dovetails so perfectly with what we just heard from Kelly, because I think you also made a key hire that changed the way you thought about your business.
Yeah, I loved everything Kelly said. But I agree that, we're all creative people. So we want to do the creative side, but really digging into the business side is the way that your company's going to roll, the way your company's going to keep moving and I guess sustain the business that you hopes to come.
You hired a business manager, right?
I did, yeah. It wasn't recent. It was about 6 years ago.
Okay.
Holly Hunt, she's a family friend, luckily. She's a family friend of my mother-in-law. And she had dinner one night and said, tell Cortney the one thing she needs to do is hire a business manager. There's a lot of creative stuff, but she's a business girl. She had a business degree. I did. And she knew that. But she said, just get her out of the weeds, hire a business manager, and it'll pay for itself. So then in comes Blair, Mama Blair, we call her. And she's amazing. She's been great.
And you were telling me before that one of the first things she asked you when she joined your team was what makes your clients happy?
Yeah, that's a question, that I always have been, it's been on the top of my mind since I started in the hospitality industry after college. And I always want to make my clients happy no matter what business I was in. And, in design, it's just so complicated. There's so many areas that your clients have to be nervous about. It's how is this going to work? Are we going to get along? How much money is it going to cost? What are the steps involved? How do I get on with the creative process? There's just so much involved, and there's so many unknowns. And a lot of my clients, I don't know how the niche happened, but they're on the younger side. They're in their 30s. They're really starting this house, or they're starting this project for the first time. So for me, it was really about, understanding that vulnerability and understanding how can we make this more comfortable for them, because I know how complicated it is. It's one of the most complicated businesses, I think, out there. You're just dealing with so many logistics, so many processes, and, different kinds of thinking. Your clients may not have a creative bone in their body. So how do you manage that? And a lot of the projects are lasting 16 months to 2 years. That's a long time to have a relationship with somebody if they don't trust you. So yeah, that was a major question. We sat around the table. We have 9 girls now, but at the time we had 5. And we said, what are we going to do to make sure that we know what we're doing is something that our clients can grasp onto and be excited about with us. And so we started this whole process retreat where we kind of got these things in line that helped us understand how we were going to communicate with the client. And, one thing to remember, and, I think everybody has experienced this, when your clients are getting started and they're in your studio and they see all your beautiful samples and your fabrics and they meet everybody, they see your vision boards, they're happy. They're excited to be kind of in somebody else's hands who can do this for them. Because it's, again, very complicated to do it on your own as, a family. And the resources aren't as wide stretched as they are for us. So they're excited and happy and ready to go. So my advice and what we learned from this process and what we've implemented is in that first 90 days of what we call the design process, that's the first phase of our working proposal, we give them a top to bottom buttoned up proposal that gives them a budget on what they will anticipate or what we are anticipating they will spend on their home, soup to nuts, down to the household essentials, down to the installation charges, down to the shipping and handling. And we present that with their first design presentation, which we promise them within 90 days, which is phase 1. And once they have that in their hands and they've seen all the work you've put into it, because we all know it's hard work, it's not just pretty pictures, and they see that you've put all this time in and all this effort, but that there is an actual number associated with each item, whether it's selected yet or whether it's budgeted for, then they're in a better place to say yes than at the end of the project when they're getting hit with all these nickel and dimes and shipping charges and receiving costs. And, oh, wait, you didn't tell me there was going to be an extra $30,000 for the installation. Oh, sorry about that. That doesn't fly with any budget, high or low. It just doesn't, it doesn't end well. And for us, it was about Is that client going to refer us? Is that client going to be happy at the end of the project? I mean, what can we do to make that client feel good, the entire way through for the next 16 months? And yes, there's hiccups and there's bumps, and yes, we go over sometimes the budgeted line item number, but it's within range, and we explain why. So those processes and spreadsheets were really important to us.
I mean, when you talk about how your spreadsheet worked, it kind of blows my mind. I know you told me before that it is color coded.
Yes.
And that client knows where their money is every step of the process. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, another really great point to that is by presenting the total overarching budget from soup to nuts, we are not held accountable to each invoice as we invoice things. We are giving them the entire budget. Let's just say, hypothetically, it's $650,000 to complete their home. And once that budget is approved, then and the design presentation is approved, not everything. They may say, this sideboard is too expensive, Courtney, like find 2 other options for me. And I totally agree. We aim high in the beginning. We give them all the bells and whistles. We give them our #1 wish list, and we say that in the first meeting. We're going to give you the whole shebang, everything we think is perfect for your project. And then you're in control, and you tell us where you want to spend your money. If you want to cut 20% off the total budget, tell us. If you don't want to spend more than, $10,000 on your daughter's room, tell us. Just tell us what you want to do after we've presented the document, and then we'll work from there. It's too hard to gauge people's emotions and money. You don't know what's going on in their lives. One day they may be fine with it. One day they may be really pissed off about it. And you're in those situations, once a week where you're like, oof, I thought we talked about this. So you kind of want them to have the document in a spreadsheet form that they can take home with them. They can have it on their computer at all times. And I've got incredible project managers and assistants working for the project managers who really run that budget. It's changing. The thermometer's going red or green the whole way through, but they're presented with a new updated budget every time we meet. Well, you really like this piece of artwork. Well, it was, $14,000. Our budget was $9,000. But now you can see how that's reflecting in the overarching budget. So I always call it let's just start with a working document so we're all on the same page.
That's amazing. I'm going to pivot for a little bit, but I think the through line is the same. You also acquired a warehouse space, bought trucks, hired a staff, and launched your own in-house receiving company.
I did, recently.
With the same kind of purpose of streamlining that client experience.
Yes, and we could not be happier. And the girls say it every day, thank God for CBDT, because they have made us look so good in so many situations. And I'm sure many of you have receiving companies you hire, in the city, wherever you're working, and you call upon them and they ask you for a scheduled date, and how many times do you hit the date? And you're like, no, the rug's not going to make it. Can we push it 2 days? And they're like, if they love you and they're, you're one of their dear clients, yeah, they'll move a little bit for you. They'll help you. But what we realized was, we'd go to their warehouse and our stuff was everywhere. There were parts and pieces missing. There are some really great ones out there, so I'm not knocking the business at all, but they just weren't doing it the way that we thought we could do it. And so, we had a receiving warehouse, and then we had 7 storage units full of furniture that we were buying at fairs. In our business, who can't go shopping? We love to shop. So I'm collecting things along the way that I love. If it's not going to work in their house, it'll work in my house, and oh my gosh. And so now I have 7 warehouses filled to the top. I'm paying $350 a storage unit. I can't see anything. And I'm having to call these guys from the receiving center to come dig through it every day. And at that time, it doesn't even look good. You're just like, ugh, I don't even want to see it anymore. Close the door. So the receiving warehouse was just an idea that I thought of one day to help us extend our service. We are a service industry, a luxury service industry. We're not the Four Seasons, but we can try to act like we have that kind of mentality where we're servicing a client at that level. And a lot of us, I believe a lot of the clients think that that's what they're going to get when you're hiring a designer. So what we're trying to do is create that beginning to end experience where they're really pleased. Not only, could we control what the guys are wearing, guys or girls, whoever's in the, that day, what they're wearing their masks, they're wearing their white things on their shoes, they're saying hello, they're acting professional in a situation that we can control. And I think that's noticed by all of our clients. These guys were so helpful. Oh, would you mind hanging this piece of art that I've had on my floor, for the last 3 months? Of course, no problem. Mrs. Jones, we'll do that for you. So it's a whole mentality. But I think the important thing to really express is that it has saved us so much money and time because we're able to ask. I continue to tell them, we're your first priority. Remember us, because now the receiving company has 7 or 8 new designers in town who have heard about them and they see our Instagram account, and of course they're like, well, do you have room for us? Because we're doing it well, and we've got trucks, that are driving around town. So what I was spending on the storage units is about half the rent of a 5,000 square foot warehouse. I was spending $2,500. The warehouse is $5,000 a month. So I did have to invest a little bit in the beginning, but now, very quickly within the first 2 years, we've now got people receiving and storing, and then they're installing their homes as well. So we're more than covering our nut. We're in the green. And it's also just something that, the girls can say, hey guys, we really need you tomorrow. Of course, whatever you need, because we're their first priority.
I think the first time we ever talked, you were like, just tell everybody that the first thing they should do is get a warehouse space if they can.
We're looking to buy. So if you have an opportunity to buy low, take out the loan potentially, because we are renting, and Charleston doesn't have a lot of real estate right now. But it is one of those things where we took the risk, it's working, and now we're like, oh, if we could only own the buildings. We're going to work on that next.
When you make all of these adjustments, whether it's the communication with clients, whether it's helping them know where their money is, whether it's, really delivering amazing white glove delivery service, thinking about the client experience in that way, what does it change for you?
It's just such a nicer experience. I'm a people pleaser, and I take all that home with me, and my husband and my children have to deal with that, So for me, it takes away a lot of the anxiety of not knowing how it's going to go when I wake up out of bed. It's like, oh God, do I want to wake up today? A lot of those days are just like, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. There's too many moving parts. There's too many people. You can't control everything, but as much as you can control that the client sees on the surface is just, a really great experience for them. And, one of the things that I think has been super helpful for our firm to, to simplify the processes for our clients is we decided about 4 years ago to just stop with the nickel and diming on shipping and receiving and storage charges. So now, we've increased it because of the situation now with all the delays, but 15% shipping and handling, just line item at the bottom of their budget spreadsheet. It is paying for so many logistics. There's not just the shipping charge, as you all know. There's the receiving charge, there's the insurance charge, the storage charge, and then the delivery charge. And sometimes it's shipping to 3 different places. And we have to catch all those charges, and then we have to catalog them and spend all that time in the office typing them up and then trying to explain to the client, oh, well, the product was $2,500, but there's another $1,300 and all these other charges. All that stuff is really uncomfortable for the client to not realize, and a lot of them don't know. And then at the end of the experience, they're hit with all these charges at the end of the project, and they're like, oh, well, I loved my house, but darn, I didn't expect to spend this much afterwards. So just streamlining that number, I thought that I was going to get a lot of pushback. Like 15%, that seems like a lot. But guys, we don't spend any time analyzing the profitability until the end of the year, because it's going to be, one project you might lose 2%, the other project you might win by 5%. But the time involved is probably saving us, I don't know how much time a year, just the time and the girls in the weeds, not having to do that. We don't even track the receipts anymore. Of course they're going into QuickBooks, but we're not like looking at, oh, well, did we lose on that one? It's in the green at the end of the year, and that's all we need to know. And we're handling all the middle part.
It's pretty amazing that something to make the client experience better actually makes the firm experience better too.
100%. And that's the goal, right? I mean, we are creatives wanting to experience the reveal. That is the best day of the year. Everybody knows it. We're all excited for that day, and it's so beautiful, but those little things can just take the whole thing down, whether, it's before or after. You want that client to go to dinner with their friends and say, I cannot believe how easy this was and how much they could handle it all. We didn't really have any issues. Of course, there's going to be, relationship issues with the builder and some with subcontractors, and there's going to be a little bit of grit, but as much as you can get out of it and handle all those things for them, I think it's beneficial in the long run.
This has been amazing. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.